part of it is because like I've had the most patience with her. My mom can be a little annoying depending on your perspective. My brothers have been historically very short with her, and for the most part, I have patience for her because like I do see it as really cute, and I know she comes from it comes from a good place.
We want to give a very enthusiastic welcome to Osric Chau and Lauren Tom.
It's like the dating game.
I love this set. Wow.
But I can't date my own son. That would just be weird.
All right, way to make it weird right off the top, Lauren. Actually, Lauren did try to set me up with several of her daughters.
I did. My TV daughters.
Yeah.
Because in real life, I have 2 sons.
Yeah. But it's a weird thing. You're setting up incest.
Well, in a different alternate reality, I thought it could work. Wait, you became friends at least.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's good to see you guys. Oh my, it's just, you know what? It just gives me such a lift to see you. This is like, we're kind of going through some hard times right now in the world, and it's just nice to find little pockets of joy.
It is. I mean, it was nice to see you again.
Oh my God. I think I hugged him for about 30 seconds straight. I just would not let go. It's been many years.
It's been many years. We're catching up on our kids and how much taller they are now. They dwarf me, but that was inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
time just hurtles by.
Okay, so we're trying to figure out all the stuff we can talk about. I would like to talk about independent producing.
Oh,
because,
sure.
like, for me,
absolutely.
For me, this is kind of like an opportune time that we're kind of forced to pivot. We have to change. I think I have an entrepreneurial spirit at heart, and I've always tried to, I'm very enterprising. I'm always trying new things. I'm pushing myself, and now we're kind of in this place where we have an opportunity to do that, right? So I think for me, all of the stuff that I've always been like, okay, you should talk about this, you should talk about that. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that. They don't need it. These big companies, they don't need that support. They have millions of dollars.
Now you can't anyway.
And now I can't. And it's great because we can talk about all of the things that actually do need the support. And it's one of those weird things, like you're only able to, people only used to want to talk about those things that like don't need the help, right? And so if we're talking about like this whole issue, it's just that the people at the top keep getting higher and the people at the bottom keep getting squashed and the people in the middle are trying to stay in the middle, but they're going to either float up or get crushed down. So I think it's very interesting that like we have an opportunity now for all the little guys to kind of like, work their way up without so much, I guess, well, they don't have to. You don't have the studios competing against you. I mean, right now you still do, but in a bit. So, like for me as an independent producer, I'm working on a couple of TV shows that I'm trying to get off the ground in Canada. I have a couple of films that I'm putting together, and normally it would be near impossible to do at the scale that I'm trying to do it. But now there's actually an opportunity because a lot of the actors that are normally tied up with the studio films for like years on end, they're available. And those names do bring in pre-sales, distributions. These are all names that the people are not struck. It's just the companies that they're working for. So if I'm trying to be an independent producer and I abide by these ethical hiring rights, I'm like, okay, I will, abide by these rules and I agree with them because I'm also on the other side. Then there's opportunity to kind of create competition for studios, right? So when we're talking about, like, you can't talk about future projects, I'm like, yeah, you can, just not future projects with the companies who are currently trying to hire all these AI companies who are cutting down trees and taking away shade, even though that's an illegal, like so many things, right? So I think there's a big distinction in terms of like what we can and can't talk about. And there's like ways of supporting. And honestly, there's so much misinformation going about that, like I think most actors don't even know. But I've been doing a lot of research. I feel pretty good about it.
Okay.
If I get kicked out of the union, then we know I didn't do enough.
You won't be the poster child for a scab. Don't worry. This is the hardest working man in show business I know, and I'm So proud of him too. It's like, I do feel kind of motherly towards Oz. I mean, and I also think, the SPN fandom is like the most amazing fandom ever, and I feel so grateful to be a part of it. And you guys, I think that SAG is just trying to encourage people to support, get out there and go see movies and stuff like that. That's actually going to help us, because some people on Twitter were like, should I cancel my subscription to Netflix and things? And no, they don't want you to do that.
I would say not yet. You don't know. We don't know how long this is going to go. We don't know how long it's going to play out. We know they've been preparing for this, so like, who knows? It does seem like, cartoon villainry at a certain point.
So mean.
But we're not looking for a boycott.
And also, I'm not really sure if the general public knows that this is not about trying to raise Brad Pitt's salary. This is about the little guy, the working actor that's trying to make a decent living and stay in there. And 87% of SAG doesn't even make $26,000 a year in order to qualify for health insurance. So we're trying to take care of everybody. And so we have to stand up for this. And so it's really unfair of the studios to say that we're being unreasonable. And the writers too are only asking for 2%. And these guys are like billionaires, so.
Yeah. Oh, call to action. If you want to support your independent filmmakers like myself and others, and actors that are trying to make, a name for themselves, at the end of the day, it does come down to attention. There are film festivals out there in your locale, in the bigger cities, for sure, that have films that will only ever be screened at that film festival. So if you want to see things that, and granted, not all of them are good or entertaining. They're kind of niche, but you might love them too. And you could be the only people in the world that will ever get to see these films at these film festivals, but you'll also get to be the first to see it if it does blow up, and you will be there on the ground floor discovering new talent. There's something really exciting, and it's like a convention like this, but for films, right? And so I started going to film festivals a couple years back, and it honestly changed my life. It made me think, wow, this is incredible. These are amazing people doing incredible things. And then I'm like, wow, these are normal people doing incredible, amazing things, or normal people doing, not so great content for me, but they're telling a story that's so important to them, and it was just very inspiring. So I think if you want to support actors and filmmakers that are not likely part of this system, they're going to be at the film festivals, and they're going to appreciate every butt and every seat there.
Yes, good. We also have some mics set up too on either sides of the aisle. So if you guys have questions, then we can kind of know more what you'd like to hear about. We don't want to bore you for this hour, but should I do the Homeboy?
Yeah, let's talk about Homeboy.
While you're getting your questions ready, if you guys can just indulge me a little bit, one of my favorite things about doing these panels is that I get to talk about my favorite charity organization, and I have to say that the SPN fandom has been unbelievably supportive of me with Homeboy Industries. Every year I do a 5K to raise money, and every year, honestly, it's almost the SPN fandom alone, we have raised $10,000 a year. So we've been doing this for 12 years. So you guys have made such an impact. We're talking $120,000. I'm getting chills.
How many lives is that changing?
And so let me just, if you don't know about it, let me just tell you what it is. It's basically, what I love that connects all of us is that I feel like everyone in the SPN fandom feels a little bit outside the norm. Just kind of finding each other, that we're not typical, folks that are just, I don't even know how to say it, but basically Homeboy Industries works with people on the margins. The people, if you believe in giving someone a second chance, it's kind of you're not the worst thing you've ever done. That's the philosophy. So what they do, it's the largest organization in the world for formerly incarcerated men and women, right? And it's basically giving them a second chance at life. And it's an 18-month free program where they get all kinds of training to get off drugs and alcohol, parenting lessons. They can get their GED. And at the end of this 18 months, they leave with a job. And so that they end up being contributing members of society again. And it's like, yes, it deserves applause because I've been there. If you're ever in Los Angeles, go down and visit. They have a cafe because their first job is working at the cafe where they're like gang members that used to shoot at each other are now baking bread next to each other. It's kind of amazing. And the food is really great. So I've really seen some deep, deep transformations occur there. And it's like so moving. And so Brandon has my little bucket. So if you don't mind, there he is. So it'll be kind of like church where we're just going to pass this bucket around. So if you have like $1 or anything that you can put in there, every little bit helps. And then at the end, I'm going to post it on social media how much this convention contributed from the SPN family. And it would be so great. And just a side little story. Mark Shepard's son, when we were in London doing this one time, I made the mistake of saying, could you guys just throw your change in the bucket? And then I had like a 15-pound bucket of change. And so the king of hell, Mark, he produced a child that's an angel, Max. And Max sorted all of those pennies for me. And he stacked them up and he counted them. And we got the little rolls of paper from the bank and he rolled them up. And then we were able to switch them so I could carry it home to the United States in dollars instead. And then, I'm always so thankful and grateful for that. So now I know to say, could you throw $1 in and not your change? I don't even know if people really have change in their pocket.
But we could have a scale and we could do a weight competition.
So anyway, thank you in advance for that. And also, I'll have the bucket at my table, too, if you want to stop by today or tomorrow. So, okay, great. So, do you want to...
We got some questions. Let's take them.
Hi, so my question is for Osric. You said that you were like an independent producer. And I had the opportunity this year to direct my very first short movie. And I want to continue in doing it since I won my very first award.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
What's the title of the movie?
Well, I'm Dutch, so it's a Dutch movie, so yeah, it's a bit weird.
Okay, all right. Did you do film festivals with it?
Yeah, I did one.
What was your first one?
Well, it's from the film school that I am. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
It was really cool, but I want to continue in doing this, and I was wondering how you start in the independent industry.
You just start. You've already started. So a couple of things. Community, right? I think that's the most important thing. Film is a collaborative process. Actually, most things is a collaborative process. If you're trying to start any kind of business, if you're trying to start a cafe or a bakery, it really comes down to the people that you're working with, right? So I think first and foremost, it's to find your tribe. And I think something like this fandom, there's a lot of people with similar interests, similar perspectives in life that makes it a lot easier. For me, in my career, it took years to find the people that I, not only like, because there's a lot of people that I like, but I've learned that I don't work well with. And there's people that I like that I also work well with, and those are super hard to find. And some people spend their entire careers trying to find that right fit because it's really easy to get this relationship is a one-way street, whether it be on my end or someone else's, right? But ideally, you have complementary skill sets that don't really overlap. And if I'm working with Lauren, she brings a certain thing to the table, I bring something else to the table that she can't, and vice versa, then it makes a lot of sense. But if there's a lot of toe stepping and stuff, then at some point resentment builds, and what could be a good friendship might break apart. And that's something that I'm very careful about because I don't want to. I don't want to make things weird, and when you're working with friends that's something you have to be very careful of because everything starts off with good intentions, and at some point you start recognizing that they might be looking a little left when you're looking a little right. And I think the longer I do this, the earlier I'm able to recognize that and kind of hey, I think this is heading in the wrong direction. Let's have a chat and see if, if we can align again or not. So I think that's first and foremost. So if you're trying to direct, I would say find someone that wants to be a cinematographer. If you are writing, write. If you don't write, find a writer that needs a director to kind of put things together. I will say every single person should be producing in some capacity. And if you're all investing your time, you're producing, right? As an actor, if we're volunteering our time, we're producing, right? What we would normally get paid for, we are investing into that project. So if I'm doing it right, and again, this is for all industries, whatever business you're trying to set up, as long as everyone's getting something out of it, it can make sense. So when I put a project together, I have a couple of things. I have to make sure, and this is coming from an actor, I'm putting myself in everyone's shoes. As long as everyone gets something out of it, it should be fine. Whether it be, an experience that they don't normally get, right? Education. And so usually the only people that I really pay are the PAs, the background people, because they're not really gaining anything out of it. Right? Unless they're friends and family, then it's just a big thank you. But you treat them like kings because they're the ones doing you a favor. For a cinematographer, I'll find a first AC who's really good at their job and they're looking to move up and they just haven't been given the opportunity. So they're investing in the film, but they get to step up in a way that they haven't been able to. Right? For me, if I want to direct, I'm this is my first time. I'm donating my time and all these other things. I'm entrepreneurial, so I have to find everyone else that's kind of stepping up so that they can, they're ready for it, but they just haven't been given that opportunity. So it's a fine line of okay, they could probably do it, and they would want to, and they're not going to screw it up, but you have to take some risks. So I guess there's always going to be risk, but how do you share in that risk? I know, Lauren, have you done any independent stuff?
I feel like a slug next to you. I haven't done that. I'm just more of a hired gun.
Well,
but thank you for that question. Yeah.
Lauren, I'll take as an example. She is a hired gun because she is so darn good that people will constantly want to hire her, right? So part of what I do is if I want to set up a project, I'm I can't do it alone. I need the Laurens in my life. Right. So I will reach out to Lauren. I'm hey, Lauren, I got this thing, and I have to sell my excitement for it. And then if Lauren's on board, then I can talk to someone else who's okay, look, I've been asked 100 times to do something similar. It doesn't make sense. And then I'll be well, Lauren's really excited to do it. And they're oh, I've done 100 things like this, but I've never done 100 things with Lauren. And I love Lauren and I want to work with her.
Well, a lot of times actors will decide to do a project based on who else is in it, who else is attached. So if you get one person that seems really interesting, that might attract other people. So it sort of starts
it's a snowballing effect, right? So if I attach Lauren, I'll get someone else, and if I attach them, I'll get someone else, and then it just keeps going. But it's one of those things. It feels like a catch-22, and I'm I need this to get that, and I need that to get this, and I can't get anywhere. But you get that first thing, and then you get everything, right? It's a really weird thing, and it can be really disheartening. But I think that's why it's really important to find the right people to work with in life, because you're not always gonna be succeeding, but when you're feeling down, they're gonna, their energy, their positivity, they're gonna push you forward, and then vice versa. If Lauren's down, I'm gonna throw her up there, right? So it is a very collaborative experience in that way, and it can be quite fun.
Okay, great.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Hi. My name's Laurel. I'm from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Ooh. And just a little aside real quick, we have an amazing film festival, Osric. Absolutely amazing.
What's it called?
It's WIFF, W-I-F-F, Windsor International Film Festival. Just Google it.
That's
Got it.
cute.
Absolutely, and it's so well attended. It is amazing. Anyway, my question is, we're on the mother-son vibe. What's an especially touching or memory? I forget what I was going to say.
About moms or sons? Because we have both.
What is a memory of your mother, Osric, and your sons, Lauren, that is especially endearing to you?
Oh, What a sweet question.
Something that they've done or
You're gonna make both of us cry.
Oh,
I'm crying asking the question.
there's so many.
Do you want to start?
You start.
I'm already tearing up about it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's like they're happy memories. So my mom, I'm a mother's boy. I grew up thinking I grew up telling everyone that my father was actually pregnant and birthed me in the toilet. I was a really stupid child. And they let me believe it. Because I was like so fixated on my dad, but my mom really is the one that I've connected with over the years. Part of it is because like I've had the most patience with her. My mom can be a little annoying depending on your perspective. My brothers have been historically very short with her, and for the most part, I have patience for her because like I do see it as really cute, and I know she comes from it comes from a good place. So there are life, I've been very fortunate in my life in terms of everything that I've achieved, but it's not always been true. And my mom's always trying to help, right? She's always trying to help, and it doesn't always feel that way, and so it can be really like annoying because like if I'm in a tough spot, like I'm gonna be like I'm doing everything I can. I'm in problem solving mode. I'm like a train, and I'm getting there, and I just need a laser focus. And so my mom just feels like this little chicken that's just like, hey, did you eat your fruit today? I'm like, Mom, I don't. It doesn't matter. What does fruit have to do with this thing, And she's like, hey, can I like drop off like something in case you need it before I donate it to Goodwill? I'm like, if you're going to donate it, just give it to Goodwill, Like all these things that just don't seem to matter, but it's because she doesn't communicate, and I don't know where she's coming from. And so
It's her
there's
mom vibe.
It's a very mom vibe, but it always comes from a really good place. But like the moment that like really, it really hit. Where I really understood it was this one time she was trying to meet me. I was on my way to a meeting. I was in a bad spot, and both my parents knew it at the time. And it was just like, Mom, I'm already like on my way there. And then I had to go back to meet her, and I was like really aggravated. And I'm like, Mom, like why? Like this doesn't it doesn't matter. It's just such a a nothing random thing, and I had to drive back with a friend to meet her because she wanted to go here, and then like later on, I felt bad because I was just, she was just like trying to help, right? And she's just like, look, I thought you might need these clothes in case those pants fit. I'm like, I don't even know where do you even find pants to give me? Like, I don't know. I still don't know to this day. And then, like, later on that night, I apologized because I knew I had hurt her. And so I apologized. I'm like, hey, Mom, like, look, it's just things are stressful, and I just need to focus. And if I'm trying to solve this problem, like, I just need to focus because, like, I'm running on 22 hours a day, like, just trying to solve these problems right now. And, like, I just don't have the patience to have these distractions. And then my mom, she's like, yeah, like I know, like I've been talking about it with my dad, and she's like, I was just trying to give you money because I know you need it, but I didn't want to do it in front of your friends, so I didn't know what to do. Aww. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, she is so well-meaning, but her execution is so bad. But it like really made me appreciate my mom. And so I think it was that moment that like gave me so much patience with her. And I'm like, Mom, like I need you to communicate with me. Like, don't just ask me to do random things. Like, know that I will receive that information a certain way, and I can only like think like my mom's got some mastermind plan behind it. Like, I can only do that so much before I just see it as you asking me to move manure for no reason. because she has.
Oh, Asian moms are really something.
It was that moment that kind of made me like the favorite child, because like I learned to have patience from my mom in ways that I didn't have growing up. And I think your parents love you to a certain degree, and I always knew that, but I think that was the one moment where it just like I'm like, okay, I really know.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for this question, too. It's really made me think. My gosh, I've been sitting here because my kids bring me so much joy every single day that I was trying to sift through stuff. And I also saw this great quote on Instagram yesterday that I just thought I would share with you about, that it's really important for all of us to just find joy in the ordinary moments of our life. Because if we only recognize the big highs, then we're going to miss our life, because our life is made up of the ordinary moments. So if we can just like take stock and look for those things, they're all around, but we forget sometimes, But anyway, I think the story that I would like to share is the one I told you last night. Yes. And there's that, I don't know, someone asked me once, like, would you rather have a successful child or a kind child? And I was like, they have to be mutually exclusive.
You got both.
You can't be both? I said, but if I had to pick one, I guess I'd go with kind, because I feel like the world needs it. And I think that this is a great opportunity for me to just brag a little bit, because I feel like some of what I've tried to impart to my kids is actually taken hold, like in the sense of so they help me fundraise for Homeboy, so they're very aware of people that are marginalized. So my older son, when he was in high school, he went to Catholic school, and he realized he was gay, and so he couldn't be authentic and come out in any way. It was like the worst experience of his life, and I had no idea, because he didn't not even know how to speak it out loud, let alone to speak it to me and my husband. And so, gosh, it was heartbreaking for me to hear how hard it was for him in that environment, all boys, and learning that, you're going to go to hell and all this stuff. And it was like, so anyway, cut to when he went to college, his first year, he was outed. And that is like the worst thing that you can do to someone that's gay, is to be outed and not have that information come out on your own, in your own time, in your own way. So he realized how traumatic that was. So he took something that traumatic, and then what he did is that summer he went back and he reached out to his high school and asked if he could meet with the administration, because he had 2 friends in high school that were gay, that were outed, that tried to commit suicide. Oh my God. And it was beyond traumatic obviously for them, and still was at that time to that day. So the administration, to their credit, said, okay, we'll meet with you. And then those 2 friends of his got to tell their story in front of their professors of what happened to them. And everybody was sobbing. And my son's thought was that he wanted to have the handbook changed so that there was consequences if you were going to out someone, because the handbook alone, there was nothing would happen if you did that, and we could have lost those 2 kids, And so, one of the teachers said, on behalf of this school, let me just officially apologize that we feel like we failed you and we did not realize that was happening. And they ended up changing the handbook. I mean,
that's amazing. And thank you.
So it's things like that, I just feel like we can all help each other by inclusion and by acceptance and just knowing that, we all come in so kind and so beautiful. And then what happens in life is just life happens. And then, we get hurt and we get really defensive, and then, things can really go south. So to hold on to that kind of I can do something positive. It's like that old saying of it doesn't matter what happens to you in life. What matters is what you do with what happens. So that's what made me feel so uplifted. Like, and my little one is the same way. And so it makes me feel like when I'm not here anymore, that they're going to be okay because they have that kind of resilience. And so they were inspiring to me. So anyway, thank you for that.
sharing. Both of you. That was amazing. Thank you.
So this question is for both of you. I enjoy theater. I enjoy performing in theater. Currently, I'm performing at the Mansfield Prison, at the Ohio State Reformatory, at the Haunted House at Blood Prison.
Wow.
So invite everybody to come to that show. The question I have for you guys is I would like to hear about a challenging stunt you had to do and some of the logistics involved in performing that stunt.
I used to be a stunt person, so this is good.
Yeah, before I was an actor, I was a martial artist and stunt performer. My first big acting role I got because I could do my own stunts. And so this was it was a Hallmark film for Spike TV. Spike TV was like a man's network. The Man Show was on it. That Jimmy Kimmel got us started. That kind of gives you a thing. So it was with David Carradine, that was his last project before he passed. He was in his 70s, and so he needed someone to carry the action sequences, and they hired me. And this was shot in China, non-union, no insurance. There's a lot of things that we're probably not able to do. But there was this big battle sequence where there's a war going on, and I am this Shaolin monk essentially, and I see my girlfriend get knocked out with the rifle, and I see her, and I get this resolve to have to go and save her. And so I'm rushing through this battlefield, and I fight 6 guys. I'm just running through, jumping all over stuff, knocking them out. And then the last guy gets me, throws me into this mud pit, and we proceed to wrestle in mud, the sandy mud. And then I end the sequence by bashing him over the head with this rock. It's really bloody. You don't need to watch this. And we did it in a one shot, a oneer, right? Which means that this was a 4 or 5 minute sequence that I'm rushing through this battlefield. It actually started raining while we were doing it. And in the mud pit, I had contacts at the time. I'd lost both contacts. Oh, no. So I was kind of blind, and there was no fake rock, so I had a real rock in muddy hands that I'm God, if I slip, this guy is not going to be in a good place. So there's a lot of worries. I was, in my early 20s thinking okay, this is awesome. But now I'm man, there's so many things that could have gone wrong. I didn't even have proper footwear because it was a period piece, and I had these paper sandals that I'm running through this field with. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Logistically, they had 4 cameras, and we did 2 takes. I thought we were done after the first one because it was so intense, and so I did the second one blind. My prescription is -6 at the time, so I had to memorize my steps because I had to jump over some barrels and stuff. I'm okay, 3 steps here, jump, punch that guy, go over here. I had to memorize my steps so I wouldn't crash into things. Yeah, it was kind of nuts. And even The Rock, man, The Rock is actually it was a really heavy, I could have actually murdered someone by accident. It would not have been good.
So I don't really have a lot of stunt stories. But actually, I can talk a little bit about this. I'm allowed to talk about a game because it's not under the theatrical contract. So I did my first motion cap game called Ghost of Tsushima. And it
really good game, by the way.
It takes place. Thanks, Brandon. It takes place in feudal Japan, and I had to learn some martial arts for 6 months before that. And that's when they put all the little dots on you, and they capture your face, and so I had no idea that how complicated that situation is. And of course, they had a real martial artist doing it for the game, but some of that is me, and
Well, the action, like you have to perform the scenes too, right?
Yes, I had to perform the scenes, but here's the thing: no one told me what it was going to be like. So they have a camera on your head, like it's strapped on a headband that's facing you this way, and then all the microphone, and then I had a sword, and like I've never done that before, so they didn't help me with some like a vest or something to put on that all these things could attach to. So I just happened to be wearing a hoodie, and I tied it around my waist, and I was trying to like just stuff these things and clip these things on here. And meanwhile, the storyline was that I had my entire family's murdered. So I had to dig so deep in these scenes to be flat out sobbing and so revengeful, like I'm a badass in this, and then trying not to like have all these things fall off of me while I'm doing the martial arts and it was like the hardest thing I've ever done, but it turned out beautiful. Like it visually, that game is so pretty. It's super violent though.
Yeah. Technically, you're doing two things. So there's motion capture in there and then performance capture.
Oh my God.
Right. So the technology keeps evolving. So the facial stuff, like you'll see it on all the Avatar behind the scenes. And then the motion capture technology is evolving. Like to this day, I don't think you need the dots anymore. So when I used to when I used to do the motion capture, we had these big balls, and so anytime you would like fall, it hurts because you got these balls on your back and like arms, and it just feels like really uncomfortable. Now the cameras are so good that you
don't need the dots on your face.
Performance capture you do because they're trying to get all the granular like
all the
muscles
expressions.
the expressions. But like for the motion part, like your body movement, they don't need it anymore with some of the newer tech. It's really
It took us 3 years to make that.
Games take a long time. Games like a AAA game like that could take like 4 or 5 up to 7 years. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like how many artists we have in this community. This is great. Hi there.
Hi, I'm a little short, so I'm trying to make this work. Okay.
You did it.
I'm right there with you.
Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry, Lauren, if I could hug you for what you said you did for your son. Yeah.
Oh man.
You had both of us in tears because oh my God. We both this is my girlfriend Shelley, and we both felt very deeply what you had said.
Thank
this
you.
wasn't even why I came up here.
Oh, thank you.
But we both felt it so extremely deeply because we've been there. She grew up in a very Christian family. I grew up in a very closed family in a very tiny country town. And it took a lot of years, and I mean, it took me 42 years to find the love of my life.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, so happy for you.
I'm like, sorry, it was overwhelming, and I just want to say thank you.
Oh my God.
For being such an advocate and supporting your son, and
Oh, you're so sweet.
and everything. It's not easy, and just hearing somebody just talk about it so openly and so supportive.
I hope he doesn't kill me.
He is so impressive, by the way. Like that's just like one of the many things
that meant
he
a lot, where people could now feel very open about it, because even just a couple years ago, you couldn't be open. You couldn't just walk down the street. And even now, I know it's so silly. 2023, we still get people looking at us. I'm like, seriously? Like, what's...
I know, like my son once said to me, don't post that or anything about me being gay, Mom, because you're going to lose a lot of followers. And I was like, I don't
You're gonna gain
care.
followers, and if you lose them, then those people weren't meant
those
to
people
be
shouldn't be
there.
following me. Yeah.
You know, and it was so funny when people found out about me, like, really? Seriously? Like you? And I'm like, oh.
I thought that.
Yeah, well, you thought that, yeah, she had no idea.
What? I didn't hear that.
So I just want to say, like, it meant a lot.
Oh, thank you.
For you to, like, be such a supporter, and especially implementing that at the school is huge, because there is a lot of kids.
Well,
or
he's thinking
even
of
adults.
maybe doing that, like becoming an activist, like lawyer or something like that
Oh my
in
gosh,
his
it's
adult
amazing.
life, and maybe trying to get that implemented across the country
That would be incredible.
at Catholic schools and things,
would
because
be
it really should be There should be something in the
I
handbook.
mean, I went to a public school and it was still,
Yeah.
you just couldn't. You didn't talk about it. It wasn't
I know.
a thing. And
So you're going to get suspended for 2 weeks now if you do something like that.
I'm very glad. I'm so happy
Yeah.
to hear that
Yeah.
because, a lot of people focus on the kids who struggle with it, but there is a lot of adults. I mean, like I said, in my 30s and, I was struggling a lot with it.
Yeah, I mean, bullying is really a thing.
It's a
and
thing.
Our words are so powerful.
They are.
And I think, if people realized just how powerful they were,
Yeah.
they might be more careful.
Yes.
Because you don't know how your words are going to land on someone and what they're going through. And that whole saying about, like you have no idea what people are going through. So just try to be extra kind.
And sometimes just somebody saying hi or
Right.
just smiling,
Right.
can just change
Yeah,
somebody's the way they feel.
right.
Thank
you.
Thank you. So, Osric, this was for you. I had read once that before you started the cons and everything, you kind of had a lot of social anxiety. You weren't really big about getting out there. I'm an extreme extrovert, so but for others, like my girlfriend who's an extreme introvert, how did you bring yourself to the point where you are now? Like I can see you're so open and comfortable with it. What did you do to bring yourself to where you are now?
I have this insane belief in future Osric. That future Osric he's a superhero. He's capable of all of these things that present Osric is not. That past
I
Osric.
thought you said President
No,
Oscar.
not president. Well, who knows?
You
right?
have my vote.
But present day,
You too.
present day Osric is
It will
not.
be on a T-shirt.
Past Osric could not even think of the things that I know future Osric will be able to accomplish, right? And so practice, right? All I'm trying to do in my present day life is kind of set up the runway for future Osric to succeed, right? Everything that I do. And I think it's, me recognizing that our ability, our super ability as humans is to adapt. And, I tell people this all the time, if you're cold, you're going to put on a sweater, you'll find a blanket, or you'll huddle up to someone, you solve that problem. And I think the first time I took a really big swing at something that was just so scary was I moved to China on a whim. So I'd been there before, and I had just watched this movie called Yes Man, and I was kind of stupid when I was younger, and I had my manager just suggested that I move to China. I would consider it because, the industry was shutting down for a bit. And I'm like, okay. And then 2 weeks later, I was in China, right? And it was just one of those things. I just bought a ticket, one-way flight, didn't speak Chinese yet, didn't know anything. And I was just, I don't know, I was kind of like this weird man on a mission. Then I realized that I had to learn Chinese, and I started reading the language book after I got there and struggled with sign language because I also don't know how to sign language. And so I was playing charades as I was trying to find a place to stay and figure out how to buy things. It was really crazy, thinking back, but then I figured it out, right? And then the first time I ever did a feature film, same thing. I bought a one-way flight to the Philippines with my roommate. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to figure it out. We'll do it for no money if we have to, right? And so I got some other friends. We all bought one-way flights. And for whatever reason, I felt okay with it. And we got there, and then within 2 to 3 weeks, we found 3 studios that wanted to do this movie with us, even though I told them I didn't want to make any money off of it, which is a terrible business plan, by the way.
Would you say that?
I don't know, because I was a little stupid. But things just worked out, and we found complementary skill sets. They wanted to do something international. We wanted to do something local. We wanted to do it, at a tiny, tiny budget. They gave us more than we asked for. And it just worked out. And for whatever reason, I was just able to figure things out. And so if I put myself a year back, and every year back, I will think, man, Osric, you were such an idiot last year, right? And it's because I was. And there's a lot of lessons that I learned throughout that time that brought me to where I am today. And I want to continue to think that and know that. And so future Osric and future all of us are like, they're just so much more talented than present day us.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Do you think you were just born that way? I mean, did you just come in with that kind of, because I think what you're talking about is knowing how to love yourself and stand by yourself. And I think most people have to learn how to do that. So how did you either come in like that, or how did you learn how to be your own best?
I think this was my way of finding autonomy, because like I was never a smart kid growing up. I was always like, I didn't do very well in school, but I learned to like lean on people, whether it be my parents, my brothers, my friends, and I was always just trying to, do something. Like, I was always trying to be a follower, right? A good follower. And then when I became student council president and, I was president of the Vancouver District Student Council, I became a leader, but I had no idea what I was doing, right? Everyone thought I was going to Harvard, but I was just this like kid with imposter syndrome. Like, I have no idea any of the issues we're talking about here. I'm not going to Harvard. I'm going to the community college because I signed up early enough, right? Like, there was such a crazy, like, I just felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And then at a certain time, I kind of recognized, I'm like, man, I feel like a lot of people might be thinking that same way, right? And I didn't want to wait on anyone else to lean on before I, to give me permission to do the thing. Certainly as a minority, in this industry, it's tough. And it's almost impossible. If I were kind of smart back then, I probably wouldn't have tried, because there were no Asian actors when I started. Like, I could not name a single Asian actor with a career in acting.
Well, one thing I've always noticed about you is that you've always been really open. And like, you're the kind of person that always just says yes to everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably helped things flow in your life and things.
It's because I saw that movie, Yes Man. And, the moral of that story is like, you say yes to going outside of your comfort zone, and all of those things you're afraid of will happen for sure, right? And you have to accept that, because there's a reason why you haven't done it up until now. But you also have to equally accept that there are all of these incredible things that you can't even fathom that will also happen as well, right? And so I think
Brandon's coming over.
Got it.
Yes. Well, we're just about out of time, so if you guys have any final statements to tell everyone before we leave you today?
We love you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
we love
much
you.
for your support over these years. And Brandon, if you don't mind, if you could stand there for a few more minutes, if anyone wants to, donate to the bucket on your way out.
Absolutely.
You need the bucket.
That would be awesome. And we'll see you over there in the big rooms, I guess.
We're also
right?
doing another panel tomorrow.
Tomorrow, if
Is
you
that
want
a
to
thing?
come back and hear the same stories. No, I'm teasing.
We will memorize exactly what we said.
no.
We'll watch the videos, and we'll do another reenactment. This will be like a theater play now.
Thank you so much.
Let's give Osric and Lauren one more big hand. Wonderful stories, and if you have anything to add to the Homeboy Foundation, I'll be over here with that.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, this is Maisie Richardson-Sellers, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be a legend and hit that like button, and most importantly, have fun and follow your fandom.